Welcome to Coach My Wellness, a weekly show dedicated to bringing you information about healthy habits and behaviors just for the health of it. Here's your hosts, Joanne and Tammy.
Welcome to Coach My Wellness, just for the health of it. I'm Joanne Orshan.
And I'm Tammy St. Clair.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Tammy, we've been talking about creating a wellness vision, and I've heard from a couple of people that have asked me to define that a little bit more. So what I wanted to say is that in creating a wellness vision, it's more about thinking about the bigger picture. We've talked a lot about goals and why it's important to set those goals, because if we don't have goals, how do we know where we're trying to go or what we're trying to accomplish? Yet, the bigger picture is really that wellness vision. It's kind of like thinking about the outcome. What is the greater outcome? What is it that I'm really looking to achieve in my health and wellness? And once you know where it is that you're going, what your destination is, then those goals can be put together in order to help you to achieve them. So there's really two things. It's the outcome and it's the behavior for change.
Well, and I think people need a photograph or a painting to know what they're going for. You know, we often talk about goals and SMART goals, and we're going to talk about those later, but those can be very cold to people because it just gives them, a lot of people see that as, oh, this is what I'm aiming for, this is what I have to do, but they don't have a picture. So it's really important that you do some daydreaming and kind of draw yourself a picture of what you want your life to look like once you reach these goals, right? So whatever, and then how that picture in your brain looks is how you can go about forming the goals, right? So when I had to lose weight, I had 100+ pounds to lose. If I only thought about reaching the next number goal, I don't know that I would have gotten there. But when I was able to look at it and be like, oh, well, it means I can go to the amusement park more easily and be there and not be exhausted by noon. And I can fit in the roller coasters and I can feel good about myself and who I am. When you're setting up a goal for yourself, that's kind of the way you want to draw it.
I think, though, as clients, explore those inspirational goals that they might have for themselves, it's truly important to tie those goals back to the client's reason for change or what their vision really is. And understanding the reasons behind the goals can really help people stay on track.
Right, but I think it's having that full picture of what does it look like. So it's not just the goal is to lose 100 pounds. Because losing 100 pounds for me is different than losing 100 pounds for somebody else. Someone else may be dealing with illnesses. And so they're thinking about, oh, I don't want to lose my eyesight because I have diabetes in my family. So I want to have a lifestyle that supports.
Well, look, even not 100 pounds, maybe, my client base is slightly different than yours. You deal a lot with, bariatric patients that have significant amount of weight to lose. Mine, even though sometimes I do have people that have 100+ pounds to lose, I would say the majority of the people that I see have anywhere from perhaps 10 to 50 pounds to lose in general. But if a client wants to lose, for example, only, let's say 10 pounds, it's important to uncover how that's connected to the vision or their best self. In other words, you want to lose 10 pounds because why? You need to have that reason, because once those reasons are pinned down, you have to truly dig deep down inside and know whether your internal motivation is strong enough to keep yourself on track. Is it enough to get you to the finish line? Will it give you enough reason to make the necessary changes that you need to have? So it's important for someone to identify their reasons, which would be their strong positive motivators.
Right. It's putting themselves, they have to have the emotional connection to whatever their goal is. It can't just be the sort of like the statistical goal. So even like your clients. So let's say they've got 20 pounds to lose. To them, 20 pounds is a big deal. And in thinking about what their life can be or what they envision it. So maybe for them, it's like, oh, that's what I weighed 10 years ago, or that's what the doctor says will help bring my blood pressure down, or if I improve my eating choices, then that my diabetes or my insulin resistance will get better. So it's kind of like, where's that person's emotional connection to the goal, and how does that play into the picture that they have of their life?
It's funny you're talking about pictures, but in a different way. I'm literal. So I think about actual photographs, which
right, that's what
are so powerful. For example, I had a client who once was talking to me about the fact that he can't sit down on the ground and play with his grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
That was really true. And that was a big motivator for him to start his weight loss journey. And one of the things that I had recommended was to take a photograph of his grandchildren and to post it on his refrigerator so that he can look at it, so that he can identify with the grandchildren and keep thinking about it as a positive reason for staying motivated. There are other people that maybe have health challenges and they're looking perhaps to have a photograph of what optimal health looks like or what illness looks like. People get motivated by different things. People get motivated by the negative, or they get motivated by the positive. I'm always, the positive person, but it's not about me. It's about what works for you. And everybody is really different. So you're absolutely right. By keeping that picture of full health in mind, that could really be a very powerful motivator, whether it's something you're thinking about or it's visually looking at something.
Right. And I often think about having a literal picture, which is why I'll do a vision board with my clients where they can, take the old magazines that are at the doctor's office when you're there, grab a couple and take them home with you. Or you may have a ton of magazines of your own sitting at home, and spend some time cutting out the pictures and make a vision board so that you can see where you want to go, what you want your health to look like, your life to look like. And you don't have to have a vision board simply for one area of your life. It's kind of like, why am I doing this? Where's my emotional connection to the goals that are on here? So for your client who was feeling however he was feeling about not being able to get on the floor and play with his grandchildren, and having that picture of his grandchildren there, it's that reminder of, oh yeah, when the going gets tough and I'm ready to throw in the towel, yeah, I'm doing this for myself because I want to be able to spend more time with them. I want to play with them. So that makes it easier when you're sort of working through choices that you're making, when it's sort of like, I don't feel like going out to exercise today. I don't feel like getting out of bed. I don't feel like making a healthy breakfast or a healthy dinner. I only feel like ordering in, Chinese food, something like that. Having that picture, and you being the photographer, that's kind of why I knew you would identify with that as well. And it's about people creating their own picture.
Well, that's for sure. And we've talked also about what we do with our clients as far as health coaching. And for those that are listening out there, I think that this is really important to understand how, as a coach, we can help to support you to unravel all of your thoughts, to help you to create your own wellness vision. And a lot of that is by staying focused on the solutions and possibilities and asking certain questions to unravel the thoughts that you might be having. Anything from, what is the goal? How do you rate that goal? And why do you want to achieve this goal? Why is it important to you? And what results are you looking for? There are so many things. And then, of course, you have to break it down about what would benefit you by accomplishing this goal. And I think one of the most important questions, honestly, is who do you want to make the changes for? Is it for you or is it for someone else? And that goes back to what we've talked about in prior episodes, which was about the intrinsic versus the extrinsic motivation. Are you doing it for you or are you doing it for someone else? And I truly believe that the most powerful and result-driven results are when it comes from the internal place, from that intrinsic place where you want to do this for you, being in control of your own body. And I just want to mention one other quick thing. I was reading last night, and there was a statement in one of the books that I read, which was an aha for me. In the book, it talks about this one statement, which I loved. And it says, people are the undisputed experts on themselves. No one has been with them longer or knows them better than they do themselves.
You are the expert in you. And I think people don't trust themselves. That's where learning, some of the things we've talked about has been around boundaries, around confidence. We did self-confidence a couple weeks ago. We talked about, and it's really learning how to trust yourself and not have that self-doubt, because that self-doubt also undermines their ability and their desire to reach that goal. And that's where doing things for you and having the vision for you comes in. Because so often a client's first time we talk to them and we ask them about their goal, it's about what does the doctor want, or what does their spouse want? What does their mother tell them that they needed to make better? And so it's really important when you make those goals or when you create your wellness vision, that because you're the expert in you, that you're really coming through in that vision.
Now, so many of my clients, honestly, I think all of them, they're just very busy people. Like we all are. We have careers, we have families, we have perhaps illnesses that we're dealing with or death that we're dealing with. There are so many things these days where this new script is being written, and there are a lot of challenges that people are having today that are different perhaps than what they were a few years ago before the pandemic. I think there's been a really big shift there. And those major challenges that people have really do hurt confidence. And so it's important to identify what those obstacles are so that you can work to overcome them, look at what they are, really write them out, and think about what you need to do in order to work through the challenges that you might have to deal with as you're working your way toward reaching your vision. So one of the things that comes to mind is my client, Andrea, and it's okay to use her name on this one because it's really easy. She's a very high-powered executive. And when she was working prior to the pandemic, she lived on Long Island, and she would tell me how she got up at 5 o'clock every morning, was out the door by 5:45 to get a train, to go into Penn Station, get to her office. And the next thing I knew, it was 8 o'clock at night before she was on the train going back home. And she couldn't seem to navigate or put in place some boundaries for herself that would be in alignment with her job and what she was doing. And where did her goals of getting to the gym or taking her boxing class or doing her meditation, how did that fit in? Because when she got home, she was exhausted. She was too tired. She had dinner to get together. She had laundry to do. She just needed to unwind. She wanted to sit down in front of the TV and have that big bowl of popcorn with her. So how was she working with the challenges that she had?
Right.
And then an interesting thing happened when the pandemic came up and her office was closed and now she was working remotely, and she was really grateful because she was one of the few people left where she still had a job, where so many in her company had been laid off. And the most ironic thing happened is she said now that she was working from home, where she thought she had so much wasted time by traveling, by commuting, going back and forth to the station, she was now at home working more hours and working harder than she ever did when she commuted. And her time became even less available for herself. So what are her challenges that she has, and how is she going to ensure her success? But we really had to pull it apart and think about what the wellness vision is, what the bigger picture is, what her goals were, and she had to come up with a vision or a plan of how she wanted to get there if that goal of improved health and losing weight was really a priority for her, because burning the candle at both ends certainly was not going to be. And I'm sure many of you out there can relate to this dilemma.
Right. Having the idea of coming home, having such a long day like that and coming home from work, I would just want to crawl into bed and eat dinner, make dinner. Oh no, I'd be picking up something in fast food along the way. And I think that's where we all struggle, because we have these ideas of pressures from work and the unrealistic expectations. Some of them are imposed by work, but some of them are imposed by us. And also, then they become imposed by work because we have set that narrative. We have already set that story with work. Oh, just give it to so-and-so. They always find a way to get it done. And so people have no problem putting on you something that needs to be done that they recognize they don't have time to do, they can't do. So they have no problem shifting it off onto you, especially if they know or trust that you're capable of doing it. And a lot of times I think, this goes back to confidence, right? If we're insecure in our positions and we're always trying to do more, do better, kind of win our boss's praise in a negative way because we're not so confident about ourselves, then we again let go of our boundaries. We say yes to everything, and then we struggle and we feel overwhelmed. And then we think, oh, how can I make a life like this? And we get burned out because we're burning the candle at both ends because we haven't learned how to set that boundary and to create a vision of what we want our life to look like.
So one of the things that I work with my clients on is to help them to do a visualization exercise, which can really take maybe 5 to 10 minutes in their world, but it can make a significant difference in helping one to create their own wellness vision. And so, for example, my client Andrea, when she was commuting on the railroad back and forth to work, this was something that I said to her while you're sitting on the train and you're going home anyway. It's that thing kind of doing something while you're already doing something. So it's not another thing that you have to do,
right.
Working with, stacking on your things that you can do to be a little bit more productive. So for anyone out there, it would be, I think, a little odd to try and do this, especially if someone's sitting in their car listening to us right now okay, close your eyes and to do this. Right. But I'm just going to talk through very briefly about some things that one can do to center themselves and to kind of visualize what they want to accomplish, which can help make a very significant contribution to the overall game plan of creating their vision. So in the grounding exercise, which, by the way, I usually do with my clients prior to any coaching session because it just brings people into focus. And not to get off subject, but I know that 1 minute of breathing is so beneficial for everybody. I mean, my Apple Watch tells me 20 times a day to just breathe. So, just
You're
breathe.
like, shut up.
Just breathe, right? I'm like, I am breathing, but so, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, breathing out, and that can help to just clean the mind so that you're more focused on your thoughts. And when you go to that quiet place where you're feeling at ease and you're not letting all of the day's worries swirl around in your head, there's a sense of relaxation and comfort that you have. And it's important to tap into that. So what does that quiet place really look like for you? And how does it feel to be in that quiet place without all of this chatter going on, whether it's external or the voices that talk to you in your own head? And then perhaps even observing what it is around you, meaning learning to be present in the moment.
Right.
Right? And then when you're there, to really think about for a moment or two, picturing yourself in a year from now, 2 years from now, maybe 5 years from now. And what does your health look like? What do you feel like? Where is your wellness? How do you look? How do you look physically? What are you wearing? How is your body moving? I love those visualizations. You're going to laugh, but, I'm a really major beach lover. And whenever I have my visualizations, it's all about being at the beach. Yes. Always being at the beach.
For me, too. And it's not so much the beach, but it's the sound of the water is very relaxing and calming. But I think you said something that made me go, maybe we need to delve into that a little bit. Because we're so used to saying this that some people might be like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And being present and in the moment.
Okay.
And like, what does that mean? And people will say, well, I don't know. It means that when you're not thinking about what you have to do in an hour, you're not thinking about what happened an hour ago. You are, let's say we're sitting at the beach. You're sitting at the beach. It's being there and not someplace else in your mind. So if you're there at the beach, it's really smelling the smells of the beach. It's really hearing the sounds of the beach, the birds, the seagulls, the noise that they make, right? And hearing the waves and really listening to the waves crashing and kind of allowing your brain to take yourself away a little bit and not thinking, oh, when I get done with this and I have to go and we have to, and this is a chore, right? Because all of that stuff going on in your brain isn't allowing you to just be. And I know for myself with my own ADHD issues, I'm often, and it's kind of like, no, just be. Where am I? What am I doing? And, I live in Manhattan, so there are places of nature to go. But like right now, it's 100 degrees outside. I ain't going outside. I ain't going outside for anything that's like real long. But being able to, there's a couple of parks near me. I don't live far from Central Park and I don't live far from the park along the East River. But to just take the dog and go for a walk and go to the park for half an hour, 40 minutes and just be. And not think about, oh, when I get home and I have to do this and this and this and this, and oh, I've got to get this and this and this done before the end of the day, and so is expecting this from me, and I'm backed up on these things, and I've got to go do recordings with Joanne, and we've got things to do. It's like, no, the dog and I, we're in Central Park, or we're at the water, and for half an hour, this is where we are. All of that stuff is going to still be there. And it's all going to be waiting. And I think that's kind of where we get so lost in our to-do list and we don't allow ourselves to just enjoy where we're at.
You just brought up two things for me. One is your to-do list, and we've talked about this before. I think it needs a little bit more from us, is about the to-don't list. Mm-hmm. And that really fits into what you're saying. And, you're talking about the half-hour walk, the internal peace, and the being present to the moment.
Sometimes you only have 2 minutes to do that.
Right.
Or 30 seconds.
I think back to my days, and I think I've mentioned this before, that when I had my photography company, what I used to do is I used to photograph a ton of weddings every year. And there was one thing that I always did at every single wedding that I photographed. And what I would do is in the middle of this insane party that usually happens at a wedding, I would walk over to the bride and groom and I would say, would you mind coming with me for 30 seconds? And they kind of look at me like, what is she doing? What kind of picture does she want to take now? But that's not what I did. What I did is I would just walk with them to the back of the room. This is true. And they would look at me like, what are we doing? And I would say, turn around. And they did. And I said, take a deep breath. And they did. And then I said, I want you to look out in front of you. This is your wedding.
Mm-hmm. You were taking a picture. You were having them take a picture in their mind about their wedding. We were able to pull them out of it so that they could see it as opposed to being in the craziness.
Exactly. Is that a good example? But I really did that. And I can't tell you through the years how many tears that I got and how many thank yous that I had, because no one had the presence of mind to be from the outside looking in saying, take a deep breath, take a look at what's in front of you. Remember this, imprint this vision on your mind so that you're not just like going through the whole thing. Like, this is one of the most pivotal things that you could do in your life.
You think about when you ask brides and grooms sometimes when they're reminiscing about their wedding day, they're like, I don't even remember. It was so crazy. It was so busy that day. And that's how we go through our life. And in doing that, we miss out on so many things. We don't create the vision in actuality, the picture of what we want with our life. And then all of a sudden, we're 50, we're 60, we're 70. And we're thinking, wait, how did I get here? And none of the things that I dreamed about as a 25-year-old did I get done. Mm-hmm. Because we get stuck in the craziness of the everyday and we don't take that step back to take that breath, to draw that picture in our mind of what is it that I want my life to look like. And listen, I'm just as working to create that myself. I'm in a transition place in my life. And what do I want the next, 20 years, 30 years to look like?
How about the next year?
Then,
how about the next month?
Exactly. And so kind of like, how do I want this to be? Because all of us, no matter who you are, hanging out there, you know that if you don't take the time to draw the picture, you're going to get to the end of next year and be like, darn it, I really wanted to get this done. I really wanted to do that this first year back from the pandemic. And now we're in 2023 and it never happened. Okay, that's going to be my goal for 2023. And you're like, not if you don't draw the picture.
So that is a really great place to finish our first segment. And please stay with us. We're going to be right back and continuing with this topic, which is fascinating. So Coach My Wellness just for the health of it. See you soon.
Be back.